Welcome to this video, CSV file handling in Python part 2. In part 1, we have already discussed the basic structure of any project which we want to develop in Python. In this video, we will be discussing further steps, how we can define the methods for reading and writing onto a file for creating a project in a CSV with the help of Python. So this was the code which was discussed in the first part. Please, if you want to go into detail, watch the part 1 video of this. Let us come to this program. As in part 1, I told you that I have created two user accounts. One is the admin account and another one is the user account. I want to give complete control to the admin. That means whatever methods I'm defining in my application software, I will be giving the complete control to the admin. So for that, whatever methods had been defined as an introductory, all those methods are being called by the admin method. That means, as you can see, as we had discussed the explanation of the main menu method, which was done with the help of while loop. Here also, I'm using the same structure. I am creating a loop over here, but this time I'm not asking the user to enter the choice. I am keeping it a auto control loop that means it will continue to execute again and again unless and until user expresses the choice of returning back to the main menu at the choice number 7. So I have created a variable over here, or this loop is basically identifier created by me, and I have kept it as a boolean type and kept its status as true. Now, sorry, typing mistake over here. Okay. Now, as we can see in the choices, I've given the user the choice that the user can add a record, modify the particular name or the price of the ice cream, delete a particular record, display all the records, search a particular record, and then some reports I'll be covering in data visualization, and then last is returning back to the main menu. In this video, we'll be learning how we can add a record and how we can display all the records in a CSV file. So according to the choice given by the user 1 to 7, the relevant method will be called here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and if the user is entering 7 or some other number, so it will be treated as false and my while loop will terminate. That means this method admin will be over and the control will come back from where the method has been called. The admin method was being called. The call to this method was made in main menu at the line number 225. That means once my control gets over or my main method, admin method gets over, my control will come back to this 225 line and it is again a part of while loop. So it will come back to this last choice and it will ask the user whether the user wants to continue or not. Okay, now this was about admin control. Now let us come to our first method. We will be starting with the traversal of the records. I'm starting with the traversal because traversal method is very important. Once we understand how traversal works, we can deal with the various other methods like even if traversal means executing or going through each and every record in a file. Now that may be any kind of a collection of record, that can be a dictionary, that can be a list, that can be a data frame, that can be a CSV file, that can be a MySQL table and so on. So if I'm going to read all the values, all the records one by one from beginning till end, that means that I'm doing a traversal. Traversal may be required for searching a particular record. It may be required for modifying a particular record. Even if I want to modify a particular record, I have to first search whether the file is existing in the file or not. Or if I want to display all the records in a given file. So once we understand the basic traversal, we will be able to handle multiple actions over there. Now, the very first thing which we can see here written in the code is a try and except block over here. You can see that my complete code is written in try block and one command is written in except block. Let us understand first of all what is try and except. Exception handling is a very important part of programming in any language. Exception handling is basically written in code to handle the situations when my program or my code throws an exception during the execution of the program. Now, before we move further in our code, let us take a little bit of time in understanding what is an exception and how or when it is thrown back. Uh, my program may be having different kinds of errors or mistakes. Syntax errors are obviously handled by the compiler or the interpreter. Syntax errors are the easiest one to locate. My logical errors, obviously, if there is some mistake in my logic, then it will be displaying me some wrong output, but my program will execute. But let us suppose my program does not have any error, but still, due to some situation which was unexpected and it occurred during the runtime of the program, then my program will terminate abruptly because of that error. That exception is thrown at the time of execution of the program. Let us take a simple example over here. I am trying to read the records from a file which is holding all the records of an ice cream parlor. And let us suppose, as you can see, my first command is for reading the records I'm just creating a handle for reading the records from the file by the name icecream.csv. But what if the file by this name does not exist at all? There is no mistake in the command, my syntax is fine, my methods are fine, my logic is fine, everything is correct. But the very basic thing, I'm trying to read a file, but the file is not there. So my program at the time of compilation or interpretation, it will not give me an error. But if that file does not exist, my program will terminate abruptly. But in order to handle such situation that my program should not terminate, but it should display me a relevant message and then my control should come back to the relevant position. For that, whatever code which I feel that may throw an exception is always written in a try block. For example, when I know that I'm handling a file over here and handling a file may throw an exception over here, so the complete code which is dealing with my file handling has been written in the try block. If in case any of these lines throws an exception because of the file handling, an exception is thrown, my control will automatically come out and it will go to the exception. Now, here, exception may be of many kinds. I'm handling or I'm catching a particular kind of exception over here, that is file not found error. If the file does not exist, let us suppose my error occurred at line number 43. That file does not exist. So my control will jump from 43 to 56 because an exception has been thrown, and in the exception I have written a command no such file found. So this message will be displayed on the screen instead of terminating my program abruptly, and after that my next command is written on line number 59. It will be displayed, and after displaying this command, press any key to continue. My control will come back to the position from where my traverse method was called. My traverse method was called from the admin function. If you remember, from the main menu I went to the admin, and within the admin there was a choice of displaying all the records. That is this command written at line number 190. So if the choice enter is 4, so my control will come here, that is line number 202, and from here this function call has been made. This is the line for function call. Function call has been made here. That means if my program throws an exception, after that function is over, my control will come back here, and from here, because it's a loop, it will come back to the while loop, this command again, and this menu will be displayed again. Okay. This was about exception. But if there was no error, that means if my file is existing, then what will happen? My except block will not be executed. My try block will execute. That means either my try block will execute or my except block will execute. Let us suppose my try block was running, first few commands were written, which went absolutely fine, but immediately after that some exception was thrown, my program terminated. That means the remaining lines of code which was written after the line number on which the exception was thrown, those commands will not get executed. Now, the another situation, I'm assuming that no exception was thrown, my file is intact, it is available, so my except block will not execute at all. My next command is I am creating an object which will deal with my file in reading, in fetching out the records one by one. I'm opening this file by the name icecream.csv in read mode. R is the read mode. We can open the file in various modes. I can open it read mode. I can open it in write mode. I can open it in append mode. So depending upon the requirements as and when required in our project development, we will learn different kinds of modes over here. So at present, because I'm reading all the records, so I will open my file in R mode, that is read mode. And this method, after which I'm using csv.reader. What is csv.reader? Csv.reader will help me in CSV is the file. Sorry, I missed over here. I have to import CSV over here because this is one more library which I'm including here as I'm dealing with CSV files over here. So CSV library has to be imported here. With the help of this library, I am using a method, reader method, which is defined in CSV library. So I'm saying csv.reader, and a reader will do what? It will read all the file, and the complete file read, that is icecream.csv, has been transferred to obj. Now what will obj will do? The obj will read the records in a iterative mode. Iterative mode means one by one I'll be able to read all the lines of code or all the lines of records which are stored in CSV file. Now I can read two kinds of data or objects, but all those objects are should be iterable. First, it can be any kind of file. Second, it can be a list also, or a dictionary also, or a data frame also. It is not a file, but a data frame, or a list or a dictionary. That means all those records which are iterable, I can read them one by one. Because my CSVR object is reading my CSV file here, so I will be fetching out the records one by one in the form of list. And we all know that list is an collection of records which are indexed. It is an ordered collection of records. That means every element within the list has an index number starting from 0. The first element in a list will be having an index 0. Now I'm assuming here that in my CSV file, I will be having three kinds of data over here. The first data will be dealing with the ice cream code. The second column will be dealing with the ice cream name. And the third column will be dealing with the price of the ice cream. So I code, I'm assuming it will be of string type. Name, again a string type. Alphanumeric values may be there, T in I code and name, and the price will be a numeric value. I'm assuming it will be a integer value. I'm not taking the float or decimal values over here, so it will be an integer value. So these three columns I'm assuming. That means once I have read the complete file, once I have read the complete file, after that one by one the records will be iterated and I can fetch out the information whatever I want. Now my complete file is lying in obj now. With the help of for loop, I'm trying to fetch out the records one by one. For row in obj. Now for row in obj, now it will start fetching out the records from first to the last. Now the next command immediately written after that is if row. If row means what if the row exists and what if the row does not exist. That means I'm using a conditional construct over here. If the row exists, then display this, otherwise display that no records are found. That means if a row does not exist means what? I'm trying to read out the records, a first iterated record from the object, and if record is not there. If record is not there, if the row is empty, it's holding nothing, that means there is no record available in the file. So it will go to the else part, otherwise it will go to the if part. And in the formatting, I am saying tab is for 8 spaces, then percentage s is for the string, then again 8 spaces, then a string, then again 8 spaces, and then a integer or a decimal value. So it's a format. And the format will replace the first percentage s by row 0. Row is the list, and row 0 will be the output, because that is the first indexed value in the list record I have fetched. Row 1 will be the name, and row 2 will be the third column or the third value in my list of a record fetched, that will be the price. So I will be displaying these three values replaced by percentage, percentage, and percent d one by one. Now, one thing important to note here is I am dealing with two kinds of errors over here. One, what if the file is not existing at all? There is no file by the name. For that, I have written a try and except block. And another thing is, the file is there, but there is no record in the file. The file is empty. Let us suppose I created a file ice-cream.csv, so it will not throw an exception over here. But and I entered two records also. But later on, one by one, I deleted both the records. But I have not deleted the file. And that means file exists, but records are not there. So this piece of code is dealing with both of these kinds of situations. So, as far as the limitation of my project at present is concerned, I feel a Traversal is complete now. Let us run the code and see how it works. Let us log in as administrator, because we have not written any code for the user yet. So if I say 1, and the first method which I'm trying to run over here is I am trying to display all the reports. So Traversal, so I will be pressing 4 and 4, and you see here it is saying reading all records of CSV file was just a simple method, but then it is saying no such file found. Why it is saying no such file found? Because I have not created any file yet. I have not added any record into my file yet. There are various methods of creating a CSV file. We will be discussing how we can create CSV files in a different method. But here in the project, we will be creating the file within our add method only. So the first time when you add a record into your project, automatically your CSV file gets created. But besides that, we can create our CSV file by different ways also. For that, I will be uploading a separate video for creating a CSV file. So let us continue with this. So because this was just a demonstration that my traversal function is working at present, but it has handled the exception that file is not there. So there was no termination of the program. My flow of control came back to my main menu, and it is asking for the user to enter the choice. I said 7 because there is nothing over here. So I returned back to my main method. It said, do you want to continue? I said no, and my control comes back. My program is over without any error. Now coming to adding a record. So that means once I'm able to add a record into my file, my traverse function should be able to display that record also. So let us come to add record. No, one thing we missed over here. Once my records are over, because I have created my objects over here, I have created CSVR and I have created OBJ also. So first of all, delete your object and then close your file also. It is always better. It's a good practice always to delete your objects, whatever you have used within the file handling, and always close your file handle with the help of which you are reading or writing your file, in order to avoid any kind of confusion or mishandling, or you can say unintentional mistakes happening in your code. So immediately when my job is done, I'm deleting whether the record was there or the record was not there, that is not the concern. Once my for loop is over, I am deleting both these objects. And obviously, if my error was, I will ask you, what if I was not able to reach at this point? Actually, my exception is handling file not found error. That means this exception would have been thrown on line number 43. That was the first line of this try block. That was line number 43. So if this exception was thrown at line number 43. So actually CSVR and OBJ were not created at all. My file was never opened. So these two commands will anyhow become irrelevant. So don't forget to add these two lines in your code. Okay. Now, for the understanding sake, at this point, the traversal is over. Let us come back to another function, that is adding a record into a CSV file. Now, as you can see here, for traversal, because I was reading, so I created an object by the name CSVR, and because I'm writing over here, so I will be writing CSVW. That is the name given by me just for my convenience to understand and to remember which variable I'm using for reading and which variable I'm using for writing. Now I am opening this file again. Obviously, my CSV library which I have imported will be used over here. For reading, I was using CSV reader method. For writing, I will be using CSV.writer method. But before that, let us understand this command first. Open, and in this command, I am passing three arguments. The first one is obviously the name of the file. The second one is append mode, A. We can open the file in write mode also. We can open the file in append mode also. If I'm opening my file in write mode, that means instead of A, if I'm writing W, then what will happen every time I'm calling this method, it will overwrite the previous content written in the file, and it will place my file pointer at the beginning of the file, and my previous records will be deleted. But appending means it will not delete my previous records. It will start adding the records at the end of the file. Now the third argument is a new line. This new line is though optional, but it is required here. It has a meaningful purpose over here. New line is added or written in CSV file handling for reading if the objects being read are of file type. I told you that CSV files, the data can be read with the help of CSV library from two kinds of objects. One object will be a kind of a file. Another object will be a list or some other type. So if the object from where you are reading the records, you're trying to read or you are trying to write, if they are of file type, then this third argument new line is required. Please remember here that Python treats everything like an object. Whatever is there in Python, everything is treated as an object over here. Okay. After that, I have my file is open over here. I have not written a try catch block over here, but yes, try catch block can be written here also for handling the exceptions. Just the basic thing. After that, I'm using the CSV writer method with the help of this variable which I have created over here. And now what will happen? With the help of this object, I will be able to write onto my CSV file. Now, as you remember in Traversal, I told that my file will be dealing with three kinds of column, three values. One is ice cream code, name, and price. So I'm simply asking the user to input the ice cream code, input the ice cream name, and the price. Because it is an integer type, so I'm typecasting it into an integer and then storing it into a price. So once these three values are being captured by the user from the console input, that is keyboard, I am creating an empty list over here. Record is equal to square bracket. So this is just an empty list. So I can say here it's an empty list. Why do I need an empty list over here? Because whatever values have been accepted by the user will be placed in a list, and then list will be written onto the file at the last or at the end. As we were reading the records one by one in the form of the list, we are writing the records also one by one in the form of a list. So first I created an empty list. I accepted the values from the user. After that, record.append icode, record.append iname, record.append price. I am inserting these values, three values, in the sequence in which my CSV file has to be created. First icode, then name, and the third one is price. So I have appended my list. My list or my record is ready to be written onto the file now. So another next method is object dot writer write row. Write row will do what? This particular single record which I have accepted from the user which is stored in the record will be written on the OBJ. So once it is done, I will say my my record is successfully written onto the file, and close your CSV as I did it here. Obviously, you can do here also delete, because once my job is over, delete this object, close your file, and your job is done. So let us try to add a record over here. As you remember, we just executed and there was no such file. That means append mode does two things. First, if you are adding a record, uh, for the first time, your file will be created and then the record will be inserted. But if your file is already created, then it will place your file pointer to the end of the file, and your new added record will be added at the end of the file. So I will be doing this. Log into as an administrator and add a new ice cream. That is my choice number one. So I said one. It is asking me enter an ice cream code. Ice cream code, let us assume I took it as alphanumeric value. I took it as I001. It is asking me to enter the ice cream name. I said vanilla cone, and it is asking me to enter the price. I said just maybe 40 bucks. And it is saying press any key to continue. That means, though I can write a simple message here to confirm the user that the record has been successfully added. Uh, but it is I have not added it here, but you can add a simple message over here. So I'm assuming that my record has been added over here. Now if I run my traversal again, which was showing me earlier that the file is not created at all or there is no such file, I'm trying to display the records again, whether the record I have inserted just now is added onto my file or not. So you can see here now, when I said enter your choice number 4 was display all the records, so it is displaying me the records over here which I just entered. So enter your choice number 7, and I said return to menu. You want to continue, no, and then terminate your program. Yes, for the confirmation, once my record is written, I can say here a print message just to ensure that the user is satisfied. Your record is successfully inserted. That's it. Just a simple message. Okay, that's all for this video. For the further more methods, I'll be discussing those methods in the next video, that is part 3. Thanks for watching.